Hey guys, happy end of August 2025. It's Evan with Evan K Exotics. Today's video is called What's in the Box? The future of my children's Python projects and talking about my quarantine procedures. So today I'm going to show you I want to model my quarantine procedures just to show you that I do quarantine and also give you some ideas about that. I wanted to model that and display that. Then I'm going to open this box, show you what's inside of it, and tell you about the future of my children's Python projects. Because I've been doing some things over the last year or two to really just kind of expand this. So that's what I'm going to tell you about today. Next thing I'm going to tell you to do is please like, comment, and subscribe to these videos. My algorithms are dipping, so if you can help me out, I'd appreciate that. The other thing too, if you haven't done so already, go over to morphmarket.com, search under stores for my name, Evan K Exotics, and please give me a follow. People always ask me on YouTube, how do you find out about availability? I've centralized that all into Morph Market, and now animals that are available are going to be posted there, and that's the primary way that I'm going to drive people to purchase animals from me. It's just a much more consolidated, centralized, tractable way for me to handle it. So there you go. The first subject of today is talking about quarantine, and here's the truth. It doesn't matter who you get your animals from, how healthy they look, how little other space you have in your house. You need to be making space and time and effort for biosecurity in quarantine. It's kind of like going out on the dating scene and picking up the prettiest girl at the bar. She can still give you the clap, if you know what I mean. So that's what I'm going to do today. I'm going to demonstrate quarantine procedures and how I do them. The person I got these animals from is one of the best people in the country. So I do not have any concerns about him giving me anything weird or a sick animal or anything like that. But still, there are times when people can send out outwardly apparently healthy animals and they are not. And quarantine will save you if that's the case. So I'm just doing, this is a universal precautions. I do it for every animal that comes in the door here. I try to limit the number of animals that come in the door here because I don't want to have too much flow in and out of my collection. And that's really a fail-safe against me having something that would burn through my collection like wildfire in terms of health issues. The most common one and recoverable but also horrific would be mites, just things like that. Even if all you do is avoid a mite outbreak in your main room, which quarantine has done for me, you'll be so happy that you put in the effort. So here's basically what I'll tell you to do. You need to have a space separate from, far away from, as far as possible, maybe even in a different building if you can do that, from your primary animals. And in that area, you want to place your temporary setups or your quarantine setup. Your quarantine setup, if you could be the animal's actual setup, you just move it into the quarantine space. I do 90-day minimum quarantines, meaning that I have a small rack in a spare bedroom that's as far away as possible in my house, and I do a 90-day quarantine on my animals, meaning I get them in, I put them into the quarantine system, and if they're healthy and doing everything they should in 90 days, I will consider moving them into my main room. I will tell you that oftentimes I will even leave them in the quarantine space until I have a new animal coming in, just because the longer the better. And also, if you see anything weird out of your animals, anything at all, or if they're just not eating or something like that, your time frame for 90 days resets every time you see something concerning. So you see your animal, I don't know, you hear a little clicking wheeze and it's breathing. It doesn't mean just 90 days from when you got the animal. It's 90 days from when that resolves itself or when you went and got veterinary treatment. If you have an animal that refuses, that isn't feeding for you, I would not move it into my main collection until it has been feeding for 90 days for me, because lack of feeding, anorexia, can be a sign of a health issue that's pathogenic. But here's a real basic setup. The theme of a quarantine setup is keep it simple, silly. So here's a tub, plastic hide, metal boxes, white paper substrate. It's easy to change, it's easy to keep clean, it's easy to see any mites on. So that's why I do it like this. I put two bowls, one inside themselves for drier, lower humidity species, because it helps control any spills, because there's not a lot of substrate in here to sop it up, and that way they're just never sitting in a puddle. But other than that, just a good unique identifier, because when you first get into animals, especially if they're similar animals, it gets hard to tell who's who. And then I put this in a rack system with a thermostat, just like I would in my other room, but I just keep them far away. If you have to bring in animals while you still have animals in quarantine, you need to do it in a step-down way, meaning you need to move the current animals in quarantine to a different space, or you need to have the new quarantine animals in a different space, and they need to be kept separately. And what I would definitely want to be doing is putting in new animals into your quarantine space when you have animals that are almost done with quarantine, if that makes sense. So there you go, just modeling good quarantine, and it will save your butt and your collection at some point if you get into it like I am right now. So let's move on to what's in the box. And I have something really exciting. I got a box from this almost identical box to this last week from Gary Schiavino. GS Reptiles. If you know of Gary, you know that he's a really, really solid person, just an excellent actor in the community, just a total good guy in the reptile hobby. Also a really impressive guy in terms of what he's accomplished, how long he's been in it. He works with beautiful arboreals like basin emeralds and green tree pythons. He works with savu pythons. He works with a bunch of different carpet pythons. Just a total good guy in the hobby. And the other thing I will tell you is he worked with some really high-end animals. So if you want to look at how somebody that ships out some of the most valuable animals in the country packages something, that's a really good example. So this is a good packaging example right here. It's excellent. He's got a nice big box. It's the proper box. It says handle with care. He's got perishable labels. He's got live harmless reptiles on it. He has a Lacey Act label. You need to put a Lacey Act label on your boxes, or it could get pulled out and flagged. So, and then the other thing, I cut the label off so you didn't show the insurance. But here's how somebody that has a lot of experience shipping very high-end animals packages something. Just want to show it as an example. So, Gary, I've gotten animals from him before. He's actually the person that sold me my first children's pythons, and he's just a total good guy in the hobby. Whether he treats me like I want to be treated, or if you've ever bought an animal from me and noticed that how I communicate to you about shipping, and then I confirm with you a couple days before shipping, and then I confirm with you that it's at FedEx, and then if I get up in the morning before you do, I'll check and make sure that's on time, and I'll email you ahead of that to tell you that it looks like it's on time. All those types of things are kind of modeled after Gary. Gary's a total good guy in the hobby, and if you want to know how to model your behavior if you're trying to sell animals, model Gary. Buy something from Gary and learn from there. But here you go. It's a beautiful box. It's packaged. And here he has an invoice. And then he has these wonderful information cards. Look at this. These come with everything. So here he has, he wrote it down. He has the, it was hatched on 6/16/22. Had an ovulation on 3/26/25. It laid eggs on 5/5/25. And so then he put the male down there too. So this is great. This is about as good as you can get in terms of records. Make sure you file those away and keep them, because provenance in the reptile hobby is something that's important. A lot of people don't do a good job keeping track of it, and they lose it. Here we go. Bags are marked, so he marked which one's male, which one's female. He said, thanks again, enjoy, Evan, enjoy, and then he signed it, Gary. This is like a Michael Jordan signature in the reptile world. So just put that out there for you. And then he packs in peanuts, which is pretty cool, and it's actually insulating, which is really nice. I've started packing in polyfill, like fiber fill, like jacket stuffing, and it seems to work similarly, but one of those two things is really nice. But yeah, and then he just packages these animals in clean, brand new bags. They're neatly secured. And let's see what I have here. I'm going to open up the male first. Inside this bag, he has some newspapers to soak up any slop. Watch me get bit because it's children's python, but here you go. Hopefully he's cool enough that he won't. But here we have a male het for T-positive US line albino. So this is a heterozygous, 100% het, T-positive US line albino. And what I got in this over the last 2 weeks are 2 pairs of het T+ albinos. And so that means that in the next year, I hopefully will be able to produce some albinos and possible hets out of these. And this was just a really great opportunity from Gary, that I got from Gary, and I hopped on it. So now I have 2.2 of these, and I'm going to try to produce on both of them. They're really wonderful. I don't know if you can tell, but this condition is like up to condition already. They're ready to go. So the other pair that I got in last week, they're feeding just no problem. So I'm going to put you back in the bag for a second, and let's go look at the female. And talking about the future of my Children's Pythons project, the future is really bright. So I started my founding stock with 5 animals that I thought was 2.3, and I ended up, it was 3.2. So I ended up with 2.2 as my founding stock. And then last year I brought in another normal male and that was breeding size, but it was after my breeding season, so I didn't put him into rotation. Or I should say it was after breeding season by the time he got out of quarantine, so I didn't put him in rotation. And then I got a female that was a subadult. So I got those two, another male and female, another pair. So then that was up to 6 normals. And then last year I acquired a pair of subadult het for black eye children's pythons. And so hopefully I'll be able to create some black eyes coming up, as well as some possible hets for black eyes. And then I got these T-positive hets. So hopefully I'll be able to produce some nice visuals for you guys of the, I think those are the only actual morphs that are really known or established in the hobby in America, are the T-positives and the het black eyes. And so hopefully I'll get those. And just, you guys are probably a little surprised that I'm getting into morphs, but if you, on my Facebook page a while back, I talked about breaking rules in the hobby. And I talked about that there's certain rules that are like laws of herpetoculture, like heat, humidity, hygiene, that you really can't break. And then there's some rules that are more like stylistic or personal rules. And those are rules that you want to, that really keep you focused or help you establish who you are and your brand. And it might even just keep you from getting overwhelmed. Like one of the personal rules I have in the reptile hobby is nothing that eats live bugs, because it's just, it starts to get too intense if they eat too frequently. Keeping live bugs in stock, especially when you live somewhere that's as cold as it is in the winter here, is just a problem. So every time I've stepped out, broken that rule, I've been unhappy, and so it's just a rule I follow. But one of my more stylistic rules has been that I'm more of a locality guy and a wild type person in general, and I don't ever see myself going away from that. But if you guys start to think about, once you're established with a species or in the hobby and you've established who you are, there's ways where you can kind of fudge the rules and break the rules in ways that kind of push and expand your pursuit. So one of the ways to do that is to start incorporating morphs on animals that you've already started working with and you already have experience with, and you already have a wide collection of breeding stocks, so that you can really just expand from there, and you have a lot more options, and it gives your customers more variety, it gives you more variety within the same species. So you're going to start to see me branch out here a little bit with children's pythons. You're going to see me starting to branch out a little bit with boas too. I've been kind of sleeping on a couple of things that I have going on in my quarantine, my other quarantine setup, but you're going to start to see some things where I'm branching out from, and you'll see where it makes sense based on what I've already been and already done, but you're also going to see how this is going to be able to produce a lot more variety and a lot more options for you. And you can see this is a pretty mellow animal. Watch me get, where'd it go? Oh, you know what? Look at this, it's in my little jacket bungee. But anyways, so that's what I would like to tell you today, is the future of my children's python project is bright. If you are looking to get children's pythons from me in the future, you're probably going to see a little bit more variety. And that's just what I tell you. And I just wanted to show you that I got 2 more wonderful animals from Gary. Gary, thanks so much for the opportunity. These are going into quarantine just because that is the best practice in reptile keeping, but not anything to do with Gary. And the last thing I'll tell you is right before I put him in quarantine, I spray down a couple paper towels with chlorhexidine and I wipe the animal. And what that does, I look at the towel and I make sure that there aren't any mites on it. And then also it's just a good baseline for sanitizing the animals so that it comes in and anything that was external is off of that. But yeah, I'm really happy. Thanks, Gary, so much. I appreciate it. Have a great day.